Hi, this is Brian Venton again from Townsville, Australia, and this is part 2 in my Australia Divided or Australia United video series. In the previous video I raised issues that I suggested form major pressure points of division in our nation, and I suggested that a referendum might be the only way open for us to restructure as a nation. In this video I want to suggest why a referendum would help. Now, I know this raises all kinds of red flags for people, and I certainly don't want to light a candle under any agendas of others by suggesting this, but I think there is value in discussing why it could be beneficial. As we all know, our Commonwealth of Australia Constitution Act 1901, as it stands now, creates safeguards for us in Section 128 for altering the Constitution. For change to succeed, it requires a majority of electors in a majority of states and a majority of electors overall to vote in the affirmative for change to happen. It's not easy to get a referendum up, as evidenced by only 8 of the 44 proposals for constitutional change having been approved since 1901. A lot of people do need a lot of convincing. So why am I suggesting a referendum will help? Well, the first reason is fairly obvious, but the ones after that are less obvious. Going to a referendum would enable us to make changes to our governance model. In my suggested model, which I'll outline in the next video, any change would require a referendum to enact. Obviously, a full document would have to be prepared and well in advance, and I think we could come up with a process that could create that document driven from the grassroots as much as it would need involvement from constitutional experts. It's well known that Section 128 has been a thorn in the side for governments over a long period of time, and I would never advocate for a change unless that section continued to remain in any new draft. Now, the next couple of reasons for holding a referendum are less obvious. We've now had 235 years of both good and bad national lived experiences, and a referendum could provide everyone with that figurative line in the riverbed moment where a new pathway for the future is crafted, particularly if we are to resolve constitutional issues for our Aboriginal folk. I would argue that a clean slate would give everyone a new legal basis to start afresh by laying aside our partisan views of history and embracing a new approach to the future together. Now, it's very hard, as we know, to go back and start all over, and it would have been great if from the beginning some things were done very differently, but we can't change what's been. We can acknowledge it was real and in some cases horrific and very wrong, but the past can't be undone. We can, however, change how we respond to our history, and that is a choice. As C.S. Lewis once said, you can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are now and change the ending. To have a line in the riverbed moment, I think, would be incredibly beneficial. It would solve long-standing constitutional issues between Aboriginals and settler histories. It would importantly heal generational woundedness and create a new reconciliation mindset that's not driven by multiple layers of ongoing reparations. Reconciliation where sorry and forgiveness meet together unconditionally. Personally, I think a referendum is probably the only way we can move to be on the same side of the riverbank together as a people. It does require, though, enormous goodwill, but it is doable. From another perspective, I tend to believe that many of our Aboriginal friends are equally fed up with the divisions surrounding our shared histories. I suggest they too are tired of being weaponised and used as political footballs across all levels of circumstance. But I also equally feel it's not fair to expect our Aboriginal community to embrace something that they never had a choice to embrace from the start. If we want to live as one nation, then I think it's only fair that we do so on the same agreed basis, and a constitutional referendum could close a door on the ugliness of the past and enable us to embrace something new together as a nation. In retrospect, our Aboriginal peoples and their descendants, together with the descendants of the convicts and the free settlers alike, we've all derived great benefit living in a modern Australia. None of us should forget that. Imagine how Governor Phillip been able to sit down and show the inhabitants of the land back in 1788, including the convicts and the free settlers, all the future benefits that would lay before them. The gold rush of the 1850s wasn't even foreseen. The first car wasn't built until 1886 and the first plane till 1903, and Then consider the educational opportunities, access to medicine, and of course all the great sporting opportunities that we enjoy together as a nation. So much has changed, so many benefits, and I think a constitutional referendum with a newly crafted constitution would do something that we've not been able to achieve prior to now. In part 3, I want to lay out a proposal for a new model of governance based on much of what I've talked about in parts 1 and in part 2. See you next time. Bye.